repeatedly, obviously. I talked to her regularly. When I called her in the middle of June, I said, did he pay? And she said he didn't have enough this time, but he's going to pay us his next paycheck. And then I asked when the next paycheck came in, and she said, no, he had some other things, he couldn't do it. So according to her, she could be lying to me. But I know that for May and June, he paid for half month and a half month. So that's the only money. And this is, again, when she was defending him and when she was apparently trying to, seduce him constantly. So I'm not entirely sure why she would tell me that he was paying, or that he wasn't paying rent, when I was telling her if he doesn't pay, he needs to get, 30 days notice to go home. So that's that, but I can't prove it. Maybe there's some grand convoluted deception that I know nothing about.
To be honest, and this is simply from a first look, not that I know anything about the wife, but it just seems very unlikely. So that's just my opinion.
Was his method of payment always cash?
The first time it was, the second time I didn't see it, so I don't know. I'm assuming it was, because he never had a bank account here.
So he continued to live with you for another, 6 months? After only paying, a half a month and then a half a month? How come it didn't come to fruition sooner that he left? If you were so adamant about him paying, and then, he pays a little bit and then a little bit, and then it looks like 6 months goes by without him ever paying. Was she defending him the whole time?
She was saying that he was having a hard time, so yes, she was defending him.
I mean, he doesn't pay rent, and he's buying food. I mean,
apparently, from what I understand, and this again, I don't want to get into it. I'm not gonna, I was gone, so I'm not gonna state about what was happening or not happening when I was gone. But according to my wife, he didn't, he got shorted on hours here and there, and he didn't have enough, whatever. And that was a big thing. And he was, at this time, saving to go home for Christmas and this kind of thing. And so she was kind of making excuses for him, which, hey, I'll say lends credibility to part of his story. I won't even say that that's not true. But the point of it is, then when they moved to Anchorage, and I was, to be honest, really mad when he was still there. Because I thought it would be a nice transition. When they're moving to Anchorage, hey, you can go now. And he was still there, or he was coming along. She said that he was going to start looking for work as soon as he got to Anchorage. And I was there from that point on, and I never saw that happen. So from that point, that was just what it was at September, November, October, November, December. So about 3.5 months, where that was when we got the whole back and forth thing of, well, I'm going to get student loans, so I'll pay you rent from student loans. Oh, I'm not going to go to school because I'm going to work. I mean, we got mixed stories, and that kind of carried on. I don't know. And it all comes back to the hindsight 2020 thing. I mean, so.
I have a strange question. I don't even know if you want to answer it, but do you have an open relationship with your wife where this would be okay?
Absolutely not. That's a very, very funny question. That part of this thing made me kind of laugh, because it actually, to be honest, okay, I'm going to say it lends a little bit of veracity to his claim, only because that I know he could not have known anything about that. When in the first few years of our marriage, we were a little bit more experimental. That was a long time ago, and we sort of sowed some wild oats, if that makes sense. And that's not to reveal any. I don't want to get into details, obviously. That was a long time ago. And then we both kind of like, this is a really stupid idea, and it just didn't work for us. I mean, the people who it worked for, all the power to them. And so the fact that he mentioned that made me think, oh, so she did talk to him. You know, I knew that she had obviously said that to him because I never said it to him, right? So yeah. So it's not a strange question at all, but it certainly was not anything that's been happening for the last decade that he would have any connection to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if she told him that, she very well could have told him that. I'm not going to say that. I'm not even going to say that. You know, I'm not going to get into the fact. You know, maybe she was telling him that, whatever. I mean, that's entirely possible, but it's not what was really happening in our relationship at that time.
Okay. Just wanted to get it out of the way that you didn't have any talks with her that something like that would have been okay, because
Absolutely.
he always called you like a mentor, and that type of relationship. I
actually before he ever came to Alaska, I asked him a couple of times to not do that, only because of the fact that that's a really kind of a specific relationship, and we never had that relationship. I always felt, and I don't mean that this is not just trying to be a jerk, but I was never really his mentor. I don't even think that he ever really thought I was his mentor, outside of the fact that by having a mentor, it made him a student. And it's like, I have a mentor. That must make me important.
Well, I can tell you, and so can some of the people here in this call, he's called you his mentor at least 1,000 times.
Well, I know he does. I absolutely know he does.
It's a very strange word to use, and he uses it a lot.
I asked him not to do it. Way back when he first started saying it, I said it's not really a good thing. It's kind of a weird. It's a weird thing. And I said I'm not comfortable with that, and he goes, no, that's how I think of you. And it's like, well, I don't. And he said it a couple times, and then I just gave it up because he kept on saying it, and I was like, yeah, it's not that. So yeah, that's not something that I ever wanted him to call me or desired him to call me, and I do think it was because after getting to know him and after the whole thing fell out, I realized, okay, that was for your sake. You were, I saw things. I saw his comments that he would make here and there. My mentor says, as backup. It was a way to build his own credibility up.
So playing into the whole credibility thing.
That's what I say, and I'm not gonna support it. That's just the way I see it, because he never. It's not like he took my advice on anything. He didn't. It's not like I sat down and taught him something important or led him through some kind of academic rigorous training or anything. I never did anything like that with him.
Okay. Why are you so sure that he has only had one class in biology? You were very specific about that in your video.
Oh, that's a great point. The reason. Okay. And believe me, I'm fully prepared to be shown wrong on this. Don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna. That's not something that I've seen. It's not like I looked at a transcript or anything like that. In fact, he couldn't get his transcript online when he was with us at all. We were trying to get it to.
Mm-hmm.
When my wife was getting his classes ready, he said that for BCC only had paper transcripts and whatever. He said something like that. But so we asked for a list of his classes so that when they were, to have at hand. And he said, I said, well, you went to school for, a full, at least 2 semesters. And then he said, well, I went for 1 semester, and I took biology 1, and then second semester, I stopped going. So I was like, so what other classes have you taken? And that was it. So, again, I'm fully prepared to be totally wrong on that. That's not an issue, in my opinion. I mean, I'll admit to it. I will grovel and apologize if he can show me transcripts where he's got, I think he said on his thing he had 4 biology classes.
Yes. And you were very sure of him having 1 class. I was just wondering what made you so sure of that? Was it just that
Well, because
conversation?
he said he took biology 1, and then he said he dropped out during biology 2. So that kind of leads me to believe it. And the other one I never heard of, with anatomy and physiology. He never mentioned those to me.
Okay. He said
We were asking him.
he did say that you helped him on all of these classes.
No, I didn't help him with any of those. To be honest, I didn't help him with any of those classes. So I'm not sure where that comes from.
Okay.
I mean, he Skyped me during he told me about dissecting a sea starter during some lab class and having to go horribly wrong. But I cannot recall helping him with his classes. I mean, if there was a question that was class related that I didn't get was class related, that I may have answered for him. But it's not like you said, hey, I'm taking Bio 103, and in this class they have a question. Can you help me with it? I have no idea about that. So I don't know where that comes from. I assumed he was going to school for a lot of the periods that I was talking to him, which I don't think was happening now.
Okay. Well, I happen to have a screenshot of his unofficial transcript from his community college website. And
Okay.
it does have that he took all of those classes that he said he took in his
Okay.
blog. And while he was taking Biology 2, he actually withdrew from a Communications 2 course, but he kept in the Biology 2 class and passed it.
Okay.
And he also took the Human Anatomy and Physiology class and passed that,
Okay.
as well as the General Biology class that you were talking about.
All right. Well, I will happily publicly retract that statement without any. I mean, I'm not gonna. My goal here is not to misrepresent anything. So.
Would it take just the screenshot of the website, or would you actually want a paper version of it, which would take a lot longer to get to you?
No. Just a screenshot will do it for me. I'm not. Like I said, that was only because of conversation. That was based on conversation. So, and I don't really think that it. I don't know. Okay. Well.
Does anybody have any questions for AOD or nothing in there?
Yeah, AOD, could you go ahead and send me a screenshot too?
I'm going to go ahead and drop it in the group so that everyone can have what I'm seeing.
Our personal details and all that blurred out or anything like that?
Yeah.
I think we're a bit beyond any of the personal details that are here. There's grades on it, and to me that's personal, but this is big enough that will make the exception. Have at it. That's what I'm looking at.
All right. Oh, I can't get it because I'm not added.
I can send it to you.
Okay, thank you.
I can send it to you. I haven't asked. Yeah, I'll send it to you. One second.
Well, that's at least a little bit of a relief.
Shit, my computer's fucking up. Kaylin, if you got it, can you send it to him?
I've got it. I can do it.
Yeah, anyone who has him on, because my computer's like fucked up right now.
Yeah.
Check that out, Dean's list.
Okay, it's PMT for their list. Who else wanted it? Bloody.
Just him.
Yeah, I already got it.
Oh, you got it.
I'm sorry. I'm actually a Skype idiot. I don't know how to get out of. I can't see anything outside of the chat from this.
Okay. Right click on my avatar and click on send IM, and that will open up the window in which this is waiting for you.
Oh, got. All right, thank you.
You didn't get like really bad grades. then again, gen ed courses.
I guess his name's not listed.
That's good. I'm fine with that. This is pretty much just his classes when he took them, and yeah.
I'm still just amazed at the mom how to access this.
I have no freaking clue. That's something you learn during orientation. I don't know.
It took a blow up like this in order to learn how to access this, because now it's important. All of a sudden.
Yeah, now.
Can you find it, Liv?
Well, I'm trying to get it saved. My internet connection here really stinks, and so everything's kind of a little funky.
Oh.
Plus, hold on, it's getting there. It's taking some time.
Okay. All right, as long as you found it, that's all.
Yeah, no, I think it's getting there.
Okay, that's
All right.
That's all that matters.
Thank you.
So, Lith, are you still in a different city than your wife?
Yeah.
So it's hard to communicate because you have distance about whether or not those emails are in fact authentic.
You know what? I'm not even questioning whether or not they're authentic or not. So I'm really not. I mean, I don't.
Okay.
You know. So, but from what I saw, from the ones he posted, I mean, maybe there's more that I didn't see. But the ones he posted on the blog, I have no reason to doubt that they're authentic. So.
But you still have reason to doubt that she might have been coming on to him. That's kind of an iffy question. Maybe in the way that he said, but certainly not in. I mean, they support it, and I will completely concede that fact. That there was something possibly going on that I don't quite understand. So.
Here's a thought, just while it occurs to me, or rather, I'm reminded that it occurred to me earlier. Do you think, if there was actually something going on and he was complicit at the time, do you think guilt over that might actually explain some of William's lack of account?
Now, I really don't think from any, if I could deconstruct anything, whether or not his version's real, or whether or not my wife's version's real, and try to find any kind of realm of possibility, I don't think for a second that anything actually occurred to the point of where he would have anything to feel guilty about at all.
Okay.
If anything, she has some explaining to do. Don't get me, I'm not saying that, but at the same time.
Please appreciate, to a certain extent, I'm kind of playing devil's advocate here.
Sure. All right, I got the file now. So, kind of looking. You got general biology. You got a B. That's very good. You got a C and 2. So he has 2 semesters of biology for sure.
The AMP course is below that.
And
then third semester, he pretty much
right.
Last.
Yeah. Okay, so he's got 3 semesters of biology classes, I think. Okay. All right. Well, I will certainly redact that statement publicly. So.
Just so that I get a better understanding of the American education system, at least in Florida, does that mean that he actually is entitled to call himself a major?
No, you generally need to be past undergrad work.
No, in the system that he's in, They require.
Technically, I'll be fair here. Technically, in your first semester, your advisors will sometimes ask you, "What do you want your major to be?" And then they'll set you on a path, and that'll essentially be your quote-unquote major. There won't really officially be a major until you start approaching grad work and you start actually focusing on that.
So, loosely speaking, technically he could, but strictly speaking, not until he starts a little higher up.
In the system that he's in, you have to declare at his level.
Generally, what would happen is you take a couple years at this college, and then they'd send you off to a college where you can.
At university, you start at university. It's actually I was an advisor. When you start at a 4-year college, you're expected to. You have to declare your major by the end of your second year, but if you don't do it really at the beginning of your first year, you end up taking a lot more time because there's a real kind of a solid track if you want to finish in 4 years.
I guess what I'm really after, I guess what everybody really wants is either a yes or no answer to, is his claim to be a major in biology unfounded?
That's iffy.
Yeah. I don't know how to answer that, to be honest. It's done.
My answer to it would be a major in biology would be an appropriate thing to call him.
I think before you joined, where you kind of talked about this, and what I said to that was, there's technically a difference because, for instance, like when I went straight into a 4-year university, and so I declared my major because my school gave me the option, because it depends on your school, but my school gave me the option to declare my majors when I went into school. So when I went into school, I had 3 majors: history, political science, and elementary education. So on my very first day of school, I could say I am this major. Now, does that mean I have done anything in furtherance of that major? No. Does it mean I have any sort of real expertise in the subject? No, because you could technically get up to your say, I mean, you'd be a pretty horrible student doing this, but you could technically get up to like your second year of college almost completed without having taken a single course in your major. If you really wanted to do it that way, you could do that. So you could be halfway done with school and still never have taken a class in your major. So
what if as seems to be the case here, you've got 2 or is it 3 semesters in your chosen subject?
I would write the person off personally, but that's just me.
Okay, Mike.
My input on this is in the system that he's in. From Broussard to UCF, using Broussard as the prep school for getting into that university system. As soon as he gets into UCF, he'll have to declare before he hits 45 credit hours. That's their requirement, just before 45 credit hours. Nothing about taking a certain number of courses within biology. And my feeling is that it's correct to call him a biology major, even with the level of credits that he has, but it is not correct the way that he says it on his channel page to say that he's majoring in biogenetics, because you don't specialize for the biology degree in UCF before you finish your bachelor's degree. Their specialization for biogenetics is just not there in the program that he's going for. So I would call him a biology major, but not the way that he has it on his channel page.
So pretty much as if from Monday would say iffy.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Okay.
And you can get into the subjective part of it where Rob personally would just write the guy off and say, nah, you don't really count.
I'll be right back.
Maybe writing it out probably a bit harsh way to put it. But I mean, if they only have like 3 or 4 classes under their belt. I mean, I'm thinking for me, because I eventually just switched to pure political science. That would have been I would have barely taken any of my coursework then.
And by your occupation, you're halved anyway, so.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's just Rob. That's why we want.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's Rob being Rob.
Because I mean, I'm trying to think. Like for me, that would have been that would only have been like poli-sci 101, American National Government, and then like political theory 1 and 2. Like I'm trying to like make comparison for coursework for me, and like that was like barely anything.
That's just the basics, essentially.
Yeah, like not even for me, just because I only in my class like. I was super senior 5-year plan. I stayed extra because I wanted to do my BC internship, but like my last like 3 or 4 full semesters, I was taking only poli-sci classes each semester. So that's another like 16-hour classes.
Is there anybody else who's actually completed a degree who wants to throw any further insight on this?
I will say that I was misled because of my own experience in getting a degree, because it's the opposite in the University of Wisconsin, in that you actually did have to finish a certain amount of courses within your major in order to get a major declared. And it's the opposite of before 45 credits. I had to do it at around my junior year, the middle. I had to declare it after finishing like 36 classes within my major of psychology. And some of them had to be over 300 level courses in order for me to get the major declared. So depending on which system you're in, your experience with the university might lend to the way that you get this different feeling when you read his channel page and you see that he has the major declared. To me, somebody with a major declared is in the middle of their junior year at least. And I had to do some digging as to how things work in different systems. And for Evo, he was trying to get into college in Alaska, and he is in the system in Florida right now. And I have no idea what the Alaska system would have considered him. But you have to go on based on what he's been accepted to, and go by their rules, not the rules that you know.
It's based on the university, and this is a state school. It's not going to be statewide. Like, if you're a private institution in a state, it's usually going to be. So it's not necessarily very by state. Like, you could have different institutions in the same state that do it completely differently. So, that's why I was saying, like, it's really iffy about whether or not you would actually call him like a certain major or not. It can go either way, and it can be, he could technically be one, but still not be what we would all really consider somebody who's actually like done a considerable amount of coursework. And I don't consider 3 courses in your major or in a field a considerable amount of coursework, because by that logic, I took 5 classes in psychology. So does that mean I'm more of an expert in psychology than he is in his own declared major? And I never even declared a minor in psychology. So.
Yeah. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Right, there was another point that you made yesterday, I think it was. I was wondering if you had any further thoughts on it now. And that was regards, and I'm going to really badly paraphrase you. The message that seems to be implied at some point by, I think, this video, was, if you don't have the academic acumen, shut the fuck up and just go, "Durr, you're not my favourite wrestler," or words to that effect.
That was horrible paraphrasing, but I'll try to formulate.
I said I'd give it no justice whatsoever.
Yeah, I'll try to formulate a question for Lith from that. Lith, do you think that it's wrong for him to plaster his videos with all sorts of scientific evidence for his claims and pretend, model as though he were somebody with a lot of education? Do you think that it's wrong for someone to put a whole bunch of information in their videos if they don't have the academic credentials? Because in my opinion, if you're going to get if you aspire to get that degree, it's a good thing to start putting citations in your work right now and start acting as though you have some education. And I would have everyone on YouTube model after his videos, in my opinion. The way that he puts all of his citations in the video and just plasters them makes it very easy to look at what he's seeing and see the information that he's bringing to the table.
That's exactly one of the things that I thought was great about him in the first place, and I still think that that's what makes his videos solid. I made the disclaimer in the beginning of my video that I don't. My arguments against him personally have nothing to do with the content of his videos, and I think what he does is a great thing, and I completely agree with you. Having those citations, my issue was the fact that when I started talking about these with him in person, and finding out that he hadn't really read them, or he didn't seem to have the grasp of them that I thought he had when he cited them. That's the issue I have. I think that I don't care if you're a janitor with no formal education whatsoever from wherever, and you're making science videos, and you put you put papers in your videos, and you talk about those papers, and you cite those papers. I say all the power to you. You're competing on an academic level.
He's got a very long series against Libertarian Realist. Do you think that it's possible to get to that 11th video where he's had that back and forth with Libertarian Realist for that long and not have some grasp of what he was using as citations?
Yeah, he does have some grasp. I never argue that, but if you look at just some of the ways he words things, the point was, and this is it. Maybe I'm incorrect. Okay, believe me, I'm not going to hide the fact that I could be wrong. But he does. The fact that he was on the correct side kind of goes a long way in that argument. Libertarian realists had no grasp of the science he was talking about at all. And I don't think that Evil Dead Videos had a grasp of the science he was talking about either. But by being on the right side of that issue, by citing the papers that, people like Sophia Rune and myself said, hey, here's a paper, and you can go a long way. And I'm not saying that this is the case, but you can go a long way just randomly picking quotations out of a paper that somebody who does understand the science tells you this will refute their argument.
Yeah, I mean that's been pointed out by a lot of people that regardless of whether or not Evo is lying about all these other things, the content of his video is still fairly solid.
Do you think that there's anything specific in that he was giving all of those citations from scientific papers that would lead people on to believe that he was a professor?
That he was a professor? I wouldn't think so.
Do you think there's anything in those papers that would lead people on to say that he had some education? Is it something that you should say at the beginning of your video how much your education level was if you're going to use citations like that?
No, not at all.
I will say this though, if you're going to essentially present yourself as a person who knows what they're talking about, then that sort of presents a presumption to the people who are viewing the video in the first place. For me, if I ever go into any topic, like even topics that were in the classes that I took that I don't trust myself to understand completely, I'll always preface them by saying, okay, now before I get into this, I might not know what I'm talking about here. I might be wrong. Feel free to correct me. I'm just going to say that right off, and then I'll get into the video. That's what I tend to do, and that's what I think that, the intellectually honest ought to do.
Or maybe that's just me. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
That depends on the it depends on the topic you're talking about. There, if you're talking a race realist, you can't really give them an opportunity to.
No, you totally can.
Right.
This is back in the run. I mean, if you say, if you go ahead and say, hey, I may be wrong on some of the things I say. I'm not a total expert in this. Here's the information as I see it. If you do that, what can they really do except look like the assholes while you're trying to be all level-headed and shit?
Yeah, I agree with you, and that's pretty much the way I try to handle things myself. But when it comes to all of that side of things, leaving the citations, I mean, as far as I see it, he's only ever claimed to be studying it and on a quest to attain certain qualifications. So other than the way he comports himself in the video, which he's argued is more of a style issue, and that he's modelled that on Lith fairly heavily, I don't really see where the quote intellectual dishonesty really lies, and I think that's pretty indicative of the questions that Mike's just been asking.
Yeah, I guess I would agree. Watching his videos, you do not, or at least me particularly, I just did not ever get the notion that he didn't understand what he was talking about. It always looked like he had a grasp of what he was saying, so I just kind of went with it. And if all the information there was right, I would just kind of go with that too. As far as the audience is concerned, there really is no way to like read his mind and figure out, does he really understand that what he's saying is right? It's not really easy to do, and the way he presents it, he tends to come off that way. So, what else can there really be done?
I do have some more questions for Lith.
Okay.
Lith, how much time, what hours do you think Lith was working while he was in Alaska? When he had his job at McDonald's?
I wasn't there when he was at McDonald's. I left before he started that job.
Okay.
So he had finished up his work at Alaska Leisure Seafoods, and when I left for Actican. But I have no idea what his hours were. I have absolutely no idea.
Okay. Do you know what his rate of pay was?
At McDonald's? No, I don't.
Do you know what his rate of pay was at the fish processing plant?
Yeah, it was $9.50 an hour.
Okay. And do you know how many hours he worked when he was at the fish processing plant?
His total hours that he ever worked there?
In a week.
Actually, what?
Basically, hours per week.
He only worked there for a couple of weeks.
Okay.
So I don't know. Yeah, he was only there from. I don't know the time period, but I know I know the so.
Okay.
And he worked for approximately 2 weeks there.
This might be something that you might not want to answer just because it's a little too into detail, but do you have any idea why he stopped working there?
They apparently stopped. He said they stopped calling him because there was no boats in, but I don't know I don't know what the deal was. He never told me anything about it.
That's what they told me.
The issue is this is what makes it kind of complicated is because I'm a Fish and Game employee, the Alaska Department of Fish and Game, and so I actually work at that processing plant a lot. Like I sample there, and I work with all the managers, and I know everybody there. So
Okay.
Yeah, it's just a matter of I'm there all the time, and so.
You asked him to contribute to rent, or your wife did?
Yeah, we both did. I was there for that time.
Okay. What was the amount monthly that he was being asked to contribute?
$550.
Okay. I do have one of his monthly pay stubs that I was told that I can share with the group.
Wow. Holy smoke.
Jesus
Alright.
Christ, you have a weird way of getting information.
Okay. In this monthly pay stub, he worked approximately 91 hours in 1 month at McDonald's. He was working part-time. His pay rate, being minimum wage-ish for Alaska, was $9.75 an hour, and he says that that was the same thing that he got at the fish processing plant. Working those 91 hours in the month, he made a total of $592.
All right.
And if that was his monthly pay rate, he was basically being asked to contribute $550 of $592.
Right, which is extreme.
Yes, it
It's
is.
still understandable because of all the utilities you're offering him, all the food, all the everything you're offering him. That's more than that's pretty small for as much as you're offering.
Well, how many hours is that?
That was 91 hours approximately when you do the math.
So a little over 2 weeks, full time.
But he was not working full-time. He was not able to find full-time employment. The fish processing plant didn't call him for enough hours because it was an on-call job whenever the boats came in. And he switched to McDonald's, which gave him more hours. And at that rate, he was making $592 because he still wasn't getting enough hours.
Is that $592? Is that gross pay?
I multiplied that by I divided by 0.66 because that's about the tax rate that I get. I get about a third of my pay taken out. I multiplied it out to about 91 hours in the month.
Yeah, and I think a follow-up question that at least I'm curious about, Lith, did you guys end up paying for his cigarettes, or did he pay for his own?
No, as far as I know, he paid for his own cigarette. In the email that my wife sent him, apparently, and I don't, again, I'm not going to argue that that's real or not real. She says that he paid for cigarettes, but as far as everything I've ever seen, he paid for his own cigarettes. So,
Okay.
I have another question whilst we're on the topic of money. I don't think that anybody's mentioned it so far. I may be wrong. But I do remember you mentioning something about $2,000 in your video there.
he got some settlement for $2,000 when we were in Anchorage.
That was in his blog.
You thought it was from his mother or something.
No, it wasn't from his mother. It was from something. It was something. I have no idea. I'm not even going to speculate what it was about.
I
Something
believe
that.
he'd been in some car accident and it was
Okay.
Yeah, I just want
a settlement from that.
I didn't want to say it. Okay, thank you. I didn't want to say that because I don't want to be. I'm not going to be. It's not my business. So.
Yeah, he told me that detail, and I'm pretty sure he told a lot of people that detail too.
I think he mentioned it in his blog as well. I can't remember when.
Okay.
fair enough.
So at the amount of rent that you say that he should have paid and didn't, which he only paid a month and a half of 9 months, would it be your feeling that he basically left you owing you $4,400, multiplying it out?
Oh, absolutely not.
Okay.
Because we told him in the beginning that we would, he was okay until when he first moved there in the beginning of March. That, obviously it's going to take time. And we're totally okay as soon as you get a job. When you get a job, you're going to start paying rent. That was really upfront, I think. It seemed like it should have been upfront. We talked about it.
Okay, so how many months was it until he got a job?
He got a job in May, or maybe the end of April. I'm not sure when he started as a fish processing plant, but it would have been. It was. It. Yeah, about 2 months tops.
Okay.
So would you say that he owed you for 6 months of rent?
What's that?
Would you say that he did not pay for 6 months of rent that he should have paid?
Let's see. Well, then this is the other issue, though, is that then when they moved to when I was in Actigan, at the end of August, so that would have been so what was that? September, October, November. Yeah, there would have been after that because when they moved to when they moved to Anchorage in September. From that point on, again, my wife said I had no part in this, and this was not my decision, by the way, but that he wouldn't pay rent until he got a job in Anchorage, which he never got a job in Anchorage.
So he paid 1.5 months out of 4 then, because he had 4 working months.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess that's the case.
So he owes you 2.5 months worth of rent?
You know, he doesn't owe me shit. I'm
Okay.
not saying he owes me anything. I never said he owed me anything.
And the situation where he did incur that deficit while he was there, did that inspire you to come out with the Evo Gen is a piece of shit video?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
What was your inspiration for making this video public?
Well, okay. To be, I think I was pretty clear in it. I was. The point of it was.
Clear.
What's that?
I asked the same question earlier, but Mike wasn't in the call yet.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought he was already. I apologize then. No, I was in a bad mood. There was a bunch of stuff going on, and then I heard the most obscure of potential rumors from somebody. Again, I'm not going to say that he was making this claim that he left Alaska because we were leeching him or leeching off of him, and so I sent him that PM and asked him why. You know, was this true? And the fact that he then blocked me and cut me off or whatever he did, and it was like, and I was in a bad mood at that, so it's like, you know what, I'm going to make this video. I'm going to make this a pure hate video, and it was purely childish, and I admit that. So.
Yeah, I have one question because this is something that I said the other night, and unfortunately you weren't here, so I couldn't ask you directly. When you told him he was going to have to pay rent, did you establish at that time how much he would have to pay? You were expecting him to pay him?
When we told, yeah, I think it was pretty clear. As far as I know, it was clear.
Did you explicitly say, once you're working, I expect you to pay $550 a month?
I'm not entirely sure if we had set the amount, but I think that I would assume that we had. My wife, okay, yeah, my wife is she takes all of my paychecks. She's our accountant, so
I understand. I guess what I'm saying is that just a minute ago. And again, I missed part of this conversation, so I don't want to go based on what I heard you say. But you said that you would seem to have this expectation that he would be paying $550 a month. But I'm not clear that you're making an assumption that this was communicated. And the reason why I'm asking this is because when I watched your video. Obviously, there's a lot of resentment, and I understand that, and I'm not even saying that it was unfounded. So I don't want to get into this. What seems to me, what you said and the way you said it, I got the impression that there were a lot of things that Will did that upset you. Fair enough. and that you did not communicate these necessarily, or you did a lot of indirect things, and you were not clear in your intent and in your feelings. So, like when he was making noise late at night, and you were just festering about it, I don't know. It just seemed like you did both yourself and he a disservice in maybe not being as direct as you might have been.
And that is absolutely fair enough. So, yeah, no, that's entirely possible. But when it comes to the rent thing, because we talked about it within the first week he was there. We talked about rent, and he said how much is it going to be, and I told him I said it was going to be about. I said I don't know, but going rates are probably if you're going to stay with us. At that point in time, we didn't know if he was going to get his own place or whatever. But I said if you stay with us, room rentals here are anywhere from 500 to 700 a month. But you know we'll try to figure to make it fair. That was in the first year. So at least he should have had a ballpark figure of that. When it comes to him keeping us up at night and stuff like that, that was just I completely agree. I'm not the kind of person that goes and tells somebody, hey, you're pissing me off. I'm the kind of person that sits and stews about it, and that's my fault. That's my problem. I just, so.
Yeah, I understand, and you're not the only one, certainly. I just wondered because, in my relationships in the world, through life, I've seen that, and I know resentment tends to be this kind of thing when someone doesn't express, what they're feeling, and then it blows up into kind of what happened now.
Oh, absolutely. No, you're absolutely correct in that. And I mean, and there was a few things. I mean, there was like, it actually kind of ticked me off only because of the infactual nature of it. But in his blog, he talked about how he, did chores, whatever. But the fact is that he didn't even start. Like, he never, and you could, anybody, feel free to ask him this. And I'm not saying this because it's something that's, not like a transcript. But he didn't do dishes for the first 2 months he lived with us. He just didn't. And it wasn't until I was like really, really pissed off about it. And my wife said, I'm going to talk to him about it because she's like, you have no, she was mad at me for not being, saying, hey, dude, you need to do these dishes sometime. You're not paying rent. You need to do something.
Right.
And I wasn't about to do that because I think I have my own children. I tell my children what they need to do. I'm not going to tell a grown-up what they need to do. A grown-up should look around and go, ooh, I need to assess what I give and take in this world and, make the best of it. I mean, try to do the best I can. And if you're not doing that, it's because there's a problem with it. And so my wife mentioned it to him, and then that's when they started assigning chores. And again, I guess it's, maybe it's fundamental differences in how a person is raised. But I assume that when you see somebody cooking dinner, cleaning the house around you, that you think, oh, maybe I should contribute to this, or maybe I should help if I'm not doing something else. And maybe it's a flaw of mine to assume that people know that, but I don't know.
I guess I'll say I agree with you that they should, certainly. And then people who don't, certainly a lack of maturity on their part. I've gone through this with my stepson, who's grown and is about Evo's age and going to school, and so I've had. So he didn't live with us, but we were basically supporting him. So I can understand where you're coming from that regard. But my only feeling is that, so I think, the fact that he was not doing what he was supposed to do doesn't change the fact that again, it's incumbent on you to express your wishes. So what you've already addressed, so I'm not going to beat on you for that.
And you're absolutely correct. Right? I agree with you. That's a flaw with me that I will not tell. I have this thing about telling a grown up what they should be doing unless I'm being paid to do so. If they're working for me, I'll tell them what to do. If they're not working for me, then They should know what to do, or they're an asshole. And that's kind of the way I'm not saying that's a fair way to divide up the world, but that's how that's.
Yeah, I can see that as well. With regards to chores, one of the things, because we did discuss that yesterday when we had Evo in the call, and one of the things that he mentions, again, I'm not saying it excuses behaviour either way, and I wouldn't say it in any refutation of anything that's been said previously either. But he did mention instances fairly often, he says, whereby he would get up to do something and be told, no, it's alright, don't worry, I've got this, or otherwise put off from doing things. How would you respond to that with regards to proportionality?
That's kind of laughable. It's kind of, to me, okay, okay, and again, this is not something where I can bring up a transcript to prove it wrong or right or whatever. You know, he said, she said, or whatever. But the point of it is when we say something like, hey, we need to vacuum the house tomorrow. And, it's like, okay, well, I'll do that. And then, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, when I've been vacuuming the house by myself without him coming out of his room all day long, he walks out, but it's all done, and goes, oh, I didn't know you were starting already. Could I do that? And it's like, well, I'm done. That happens a lot. I mean, a lot. It's like, you tell me you couldn't hear it, you were so sound asleep, and you couldn't hear this going on for the last 2 hours, That happened a lot. And the same thing with the dishes. I mean, the issue that he had, that was his supposed chore, was the dishes. And we had a lot of times where it was like, a lot of times. I mean, I don't mean like sometimes or a few times. It happened more often than not.
The only reason I bring it up is because he did mention it yesterday, or he did discuss it yesterday, and it was just in the interest of the full picture.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You start me off on a rant.
Sorry.
You guys see how that goes, right?
Yeah. I've been pushing all of your buttons, and I apologise for that.
This is a place for ranting. There's no issue with that.
It is hate club after all.
Hang on, apparently we're not a hate club.
Yeah, it's Friendship Brigade, beyond other than.
Fuck that, no, we are not friendship.
Fuck that shit.
Fuck puppies.
You're my best friend, Scratchy.
Seriously.
All friendship and caring is murdered
Cal personally holds a knife up to a puppy whenever we start getting friendly with each other. They might start fighting right now.
Indeed.
Well, I can rage if you need. I mean, I'm good at that.
Yes.
Your rage makes grown men come.
Right. Cue some Colorado bigotry, please. Hey, he's falling soon.
Okay.
I think Mike Thurston.
For me, I think concerning this whole topic, I'm kind of relieved a lot that a lot of the details that really kind of got to me aren't exactly as true as I first perceived them to be. In no small part due to Mike providing a little bit of evidence that way. Because the only things that really seem to be a problem from my perspective at this point are personal things between you and him that I can understand why you'd be angry about, and it is kind of bullshit. So that would be at max what I currently think is the issue with me right now. So if that's gonna be if the personal stuff between you and him are gonna be the only things that come out of this,
Then again, if he did like forge an email by your wife, that's going to be a little bit of an issue too.
Yeah, that would be a pretty big one for me.
Yeah.
I don't think that happened.
Yeah.
That could be a game changer.
I think if that turns out to be a forgery, then that's going to be something I'm going to have to talk to him about. But otherwise, everything else seems to be, not my business to really be pissed off about. So.
Actually, I would say if he forged the letter, I would actually not talk to him about that or anything. That would be the thing that really killed me. But I mean, like, it sounds like after talking to both of you though that it's kind of what I expected. There's error to go around, and I don't want to get into who's more. It's kind of irrelevant, but at this point. But I'm glad that both of you coming in to kind of, I know it was hard because I'm sure after spitting your spleen and going back and talking to everybody is not easy.
Right, thank you. Well, did I mention that he actually plotted the extinction of 4 million Cambodians? Did I leave that out?
Yeah, that's news.
Sorry, I forgot that. I should have.
Actually, no. Well, that's okay. I've nuked Buffalo and pushed it into the Lake Erie. So.
Oh, well. Okay.
Nice.
I lived there for a year. I tested it, so I always said that if I had the ability to nuke someplace with no repercussions to myself or anyone else on the planet, I do. Buffalo is fucking God.
All right. Well, hey, I'm gonna probably head out here. I really appreciate you guys and your time, especially Mike, if you're still there. Your questions are good, and thank you for that information. I will post at the very least. And in my opinion, it doesn't change. It does not change my my central point outside of the fact that he's got 3 biology classes instead of 1, but nonetheless. It's still information that I want to get out. So thank you for that, and thanks everybody for listening to my rambles.
And thank you for your candor.
Yep.
Agreed. Thank you for coming in, man.
Alright.
Yeah.
Alright.
Alright, we're going back to casual mode to feel free.
James
says at this point, and cut.
Well, I'm feeling Frankie had a 22 ounce Russian Imperial Stout that's pulling in at 10.5%, so about equivalent of about a 6-pack of Budweiser and the other School Winter beers.
Nice. I've got my regulation tea.
Regulation tea.
Yep.
Well, and I know tea is serious business where you guys live, so.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Style. It's almost a religion. Yeah, almost. It has ritual. It has etiquette. It has flavour, and it also has pathos.
Yeah, that's true.
Warm and hot first. Always use freshly boiled water.
Yep. And you have Eastern variations on the theme.
That's me once. Not that I take any milk anymore, but when I did, I was always post-lactose. Almost.
That's that.
Oh, you don't put the milk in first, do you? You disgusting creature. Oh, Brian. That's it. Where's the blocker than friend thing? You freaking heathen.
And let me just point out,
I bet you had sugar as well, don't you?
there is schism.
That's true. That's true. Well, and actually, I regret not having a cream tea when I was there, just for the sake of.
Oh, you don't. Oh, yeah. Well, as long as you didn't buy cream tea, you've been having a cream scone and tea, not
Right,
cream.
exactly.
you.
Yeah.
With regards to the post-lactate thing, to be honest, I'm easy either way. I don't really see the compartment, to be perfectly and brutally honest.
You put sugar in your tea.
I do, yes.
Oh, mind you're a smoker, so you've got no taste
Yeah.
buds anyway.
I'm gonna go ahead and upload this to YouTube right now.
I'm gonna have to get
Actually, because I have taste buds, that's why I put sugar in tea, because I get the bitterness to me actually really stands out. So I need
well, the problem is you're drinking the wrong tea. You should perhaps try something like Earl Grey or Lady Grey.
I'm not a huge fan of bergamot.
The reason it is not flavour, I don't put sugar in for flavour. I put it in for energy reasons, to keep my blood sugars up.
Let's have a biscuit with it.
Yeah, I know, but I don't always fancy a biscuit.
Yeah. What do you mean you don't? How can you not fancy
Don't go with the drinks too wet without one. BS.
No, I mean in general. I mean, you know.
I don't always fancy
Even
biscuit.
if you're not having tea, how could you not fancy a biscuit if a biscuit is presented to you?
Well, by limiting how often they're presentable.
Well, yeah. That's why I don't have biscuits in the house, basically.
There you go.
Good
question.
So you just reminded me, like, I don't know that I'm not going to make any more videos, but if I ever do, one of them's going to be about the differences in the way we speak versus the way you speak, to the lingo and so forth. And I want one of the ones I want to address, because I had a little bit of a snap at Queen of my name sucks, because she was doing the Americans have fucked up the language thing, and I was in a bad mood. I was like, fuck you. I was just like, Rrr. But the thing is that both sides, we both use the word biscuit wrong.
Yeah, because it means double bake.
Right.
Yeah.
In neither case are neither your biscuits or our biscuits double baked. They're Scotty are, but
Yeah.
That's pretty another interesting video that might be fun to make, and that's to take on the founding fathers not being fundamentally religious on the basis that they rejected the whole tea concept.
That's sacrilegious, let's be honest.
So America was actually founded on heathen principles.
that's right.
Uncultured heathen.
And the Christians have been fighting back ever since. Do we really actually fight in that war? I don't think so.
Yeah. If the option is tea and religion, I'll give up tea.
Alright, not to be a dick, but my computer's kind of overcrowded here with Skype needing its resources, so I'm gonna have to drop it for that.
I should really get to bed. It's not Friday anymore. So, night, Kate.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.